As Black people, if there's one thing we can learn from the 60s, it is how infinitely complex any move for liberation must be, for we must move against not only those forces which dehumanize us from the outside, but also against those oppressive values which we have been forced to take into ourselves, construct templates for possible futures, and focus our rage for change upon our enemies rather than upon each other. In the 1960s, the awakened anger of the Black community was often expressed not vertically against the corruption of power and true sources of control over our lives, but horizontally toward those closest to us who mirrored our own impotence. Audre Lorde, Lessons from the 60s.
I will never forget when college educated scholars was getting on this app calling people anti-Black for saying that they did not with Sexy Red's minstrel show. Okay, they was all up and down my damn For You page. I honestly had to delete a post I made because they had me kind of second guessing myself. Because I know I'm Black and proud. But something about Sexy Red was always off to me. It always gave minstrel show. And honestly, Mona Leo kind of just proved that. With Sexy Salon, that's Black culture. Okay, that's how you do it. Sexy was always here to tap dance for. Okay, and when we said that, you college educated scholars got on here with your fancy degrees calling everybody else anti-Black. Talking about everybody got an auntie like that. Baby, if your auntie is a grown-ass woman trying to go to high schools and promote her sexually explicit songs, she needs to be jailed. Now, she's literally performing, tap dancing, might I say, for literal racist. Y'all was silent when she got on that stage with that damn Trump hat, but was calling me anti-Black. And now look, who's anti-Black? Who?
You. It's still you. Two things can be true. You can both be anti-Black, but we'll get into that. I just can't get over the fact that you have a platform and an audience of hundreds of thousands of people and you're using it to antagonize another Black woman in the name of being pro-Black. Can we be serious? I mean, the mental gymnastics. Also, what does any of this have to do with having a college education and being a scholar?
Since you got your degree and you know everything.
My degree is actually in marketing and Korean, but last time I checked, you don't need a degree to be analytical and thoughtful. Y'all want so badly for people to legitimize your emotional and reactive policing of other Black people that's clearly rooted in insecurity, and I personally refuse to participate in it. It's a waste of time and energy.
You wouldn't know about any of those things because you're not a woman of integrity, intelligence, and energy.
Y'all really want me to sit here and believe that Sexy Red is going to be the downfall of our community? I know I kind of did already, but I'm not trying to drag this creator specifically. This is the only video I've seen of hers. I don't know anything about her, and I'm sure she means well, but her video went viral because it represents a way of thinking that a lot of us fall into, myself included sometimes. I'm just using her video and talking points as an example of a larger pattern that we need to examine, and I just tend to be very direct and but you know that's why you're here. Also, I've gotten more comments than usual trying to tone police me, and I just want to nip that in the bud. Don't give me no instruction.
Block your ass for that. Don't give me no instructions. I'm gonna give you an instruction.
I got this platform being my authentic, unfiltered self. Do you think I'm gonna start censoring myself because some of y'all can't digest information without being coddled? No. So today we're talking respectability politics, low racial self-esteem, anti-intellectualism, and more, all through the lens of Sexy Red, Candace Owens, and Nicki Minaj. Before we dive into each of these women individually, I need to make my overall argument crystal clear. Despite the headlines, Sexy Red, Nicki Minaj, nor Candace Owens are the root of our oppression, nor are they even significant players in perpetuating it. It's incredibly short-sighted and silly to pretend that they are. These women are simply distractions. They are tools to keep us at each other's throats. But it's important to understand why they are such effective distractions. The notion that we can pinpoint the cause of our oppression to a single individual is intentional. It keeps our focus on policing each other horizontally rather than focusing our efforts on the oppressive systems layering above us. I've noticed people struggle with the concept of systemic oppression and are constantly on the hunt for individual villains and faces to place blame and take out their valid frustrations. It's easier than targeting a faceless and age-old system. And I get it, but we have to. We have to stop looking to individual villains and even heroes when it comes to guidance. We have to start doing the hard work of defining our politics and paths for ourselves. I'm back. It's been like a month, 2 months. I needed to unplug for a bit, but I'm back, baby. I don't think I realized how quickly I grew, and I needed a second to metabolize that and be like, oh, I have 100,000 subscribers now. But if this is your first time here, welcome to Lonnie's Lens. My name is Kaylani. If you love thoughtful deep dives, camp, and a bit of whimsy, you're in the right place. My last video on this channel was about Addison Rae and a plethora of other white women and the myth of the rebrand. I also have my review of the HBO Max series I Love LA on my second channel. Also, by the time this video comes out, I will have turned 23 years old. So yeah, if you're feeling generous and want to wish me a happy birthday, my Venmo will be linked in the description below along with my socials. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you've been here before. And with that, that, let's get into today's video. But first, a word from today's sponsor, Lalo. If you're anything like me, you've been wanting to start the new year off right, and have really taken the time to prioritize what it is that you want in your life. And for me, that's joy. I've been wanting to expand my capacity for joy, whether that's through time with my loved ones, new hobbies, meditation, and that's right, masturbation. I'm also trying to be less coy and shy this year. So here goes. I'm grown and I've been grown for a while. Sex and masturbation are important, normal, and above all, healthy to the human experience. I'm personally committed to destigmatizing the taboos that come with sex and masturbation, and that's why I love partnering with Lalo. They are the luxury adult toy brand, bringing design, innovation, and technology to self-care and pleasure. Lalo actually sent me one of their best sellers, the Sona 3 Cruise, a few months ago, and let's just say we've gotten thoroughly acquainted. I've been singing this toy's praises to all of my friends, and now I'm telling you, it's one of their best sellers for a reason. It uses sonic wave technology that goes deep without even touching you directly and gives you a gradual full body sensation. Simply put, it gets the job done. And it's also really beginner friendly with just 3 buttons, but there are 10 different settings and 16 intensity levels, so you can genuinely explore and figure out what it is that you like. With Valentine's Day coming up, make sure to treat yourself or your partner to the joy of pleasure. Use my code for an additional 20% off your purchase. Go to the link in my description to elevate your intimate moments like never before. So for our first case study, let's look at Sexy Red, since she's the catalyst for this entire discussion. Before we go any further, I feel the need to disclaim that I'm not here to defend Sexy Red. I don't keep up with her, I'm not a fan, but I'm also not responsible for what my body does when Looking for the Hose comes on. I'm not liable for that. But seriously, she's a Trump supporter, and supporting Trump means supporting policies that harm Black communities, queer people, immigrants, etc., and I'm not defending that at all. But if that was what the discourse was actually focused on when it comes to her, I wouldn't be making this video. If we're gonna critique Sexy Red's politics, let's actually critique her politics constructively. But that's not what's being discussed. It almost never is. The TikToker admitted it herself. Something about Sexy Red was always off to me. It was never about her politics. Her being a Trump supporter just gave us permission to say what we already felt about Sexy Red's presentation, her class markers, and her sexuality. Y'all were talking about her before you knew she was MAGA. Let's just keep it a buck. Let's just keep it real. And this is what I mean about wasted energy. If the discourse was actually about Sexy Red's politics, about why Trump's policies harm us, about how marginalized people end up supporting harmful politics that harm them, even how the entertainment industry exploits Black women's sexuality, that would be constructive. People could learn something from that discussion and move forward. But that's not what's happening. Instead, we're talking about how she's tap dancing and embarrassing us in front of white people. And what does anyone actually take away from that conversation? Nothing. Just permission to on another Black woman and feel morally superior, while the systems and the people with actual power keep operating as intended. Also, we just have to stop centering white people as the ultimate authority and approval. Maybe the things Sexy Red does are bad just because they're bad, and they're not made worse by the fact that she's a Black woman doing them in front of white people. Can we wake that up? Let's wake that up. But this isn't about Sexy Red specifically, it's about the pattern I've noticed, how we're encouraged to waste our time and energy policing individual Black women on the basis of stupid surface level like their sexuality and their physical appearance, instead of the systems that oppress all of us. Like I said, I'm not defending Sexy Red. I'm defending the Black women who look like her, talk like her, and are not Trump supporters, but y'all still find a way to be mean to them and scapegoat them for all of our problems. I'm defending all marginalized identities that people think make our case for liberation harder to plead. In the 60s, this was queer Black people. Now the target has shifted. But ask yourself, to whom should we have to plead our case, and why? You do not have to like Sexy Red. Her look, her music, her hypersexuality, that's valid, even if it's steeped in colonization and purity culture. All I ask is that you just own that you do not like her. Don't hide behind political righteousness and pro-blackness. As Audre Lorde once said, the lure of individual solutions made us careless of each other. Sometimes we could not bear the face of each other's differences because of what we feared those differences might say about ourselves. We share a common interest, survival, and it cannot be pursued in isolation from others simply because their differences make us uncomfortable. And if we're being honest, what it really comes down to is low racial esteem disguised as being pro-Black. To make this simple, let's first think about self-love and esteem. You can't claim to love yourself while only accepting the good parts and rejecting everything else about yourself. That's not love, that's conditional tolerance at best, at the very best. Real self-esteem means accepting your whole self, the parts of yourself that you're proud of and the parts that you're working on. The same applies to racial esteem and being pro-black. A lot of y'all are so insecure in your blackness and it shows. That's not an indictment. I'm not blaming you for it. Look at the world we live in and the messages we're given about blackness every day. But once you start externalizing those messages to other black people is when I start to lose a lot of patience for you. A lot of people want to claim pro-blackness, but only for the excellent and respectable black folk who do black culture the right way. Only for the high achievers, only for the ones who make us look good in front of white people. But being pro-black doesn't mean just celebrating the good and excellent parts of blackness. How other black women and people choose to express themselves does not reflect badly on me or all black women. Good black versus bad black is arbitrary. At the end of the day, we're all black, and that's all the ammo racists need. Respectability has never protected us, and it never will. But if you're dedicated to it, please enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. We are not a monolith, and we don't have to be to have our humanity respected. I saw a really good thread, I think, the other day that said, y'all don't want real women as your representation, you want symbols. And that really stuck with me. You can't love black people if you only love the positive representations, but look down on the rest of the community. It reminds me of a bit by comedian Eagle Witt about Kanye being president. Hear him out, walk with him, and remember, he's joking.
I think he's the black president white America deserves. That's right. We gave white people Obama and they get their act together. Kanye. People talk about privilege. All privilege is the ability to be mediocre. That's all. Trump wasn't the first shitty white president we had. We had so many. We took him in stride. I want a shitty black president. Nigga, that's equality. Everybody's like, I'm not racist. I'll vote for Obama. Nigga, vote for Kanye. Vote for Obama doesn't mean not racist. It means not dumb. It was an easy pick, okay?
Again, he's joking, but there's truth in it. We only accept black excellence, not black mediocrity or messiness. White people get to be their full, flawed selves without the whole race's reputation suffering because of it. But we never extend that same grace to each other. You cannot claim to love black people if you only love the respectable ones and the ones who perform blackness the right way. That's not being pro-black. That's respectability politics with a pro-black aesthetic. I can't stop doing the fist. It's so funny to me. It's like, do you believe me? I think it was Herbie Revalis. They said in a recent video that a lot of y'all have this love thy neighbor policy, love thy neighbor as you love thyself, but the way you love yourself is really nasty. It's whorephobic, classist, all of these things under the guise of like love and acceptance. And I think we need to expand what we consider love and being pro something, because it's just not giving. One of the most interesting thoughts I had in reaction to that creator's video was that even within traditionally unrespectable arenas like ratchet hood female rap, there is still a hierarchy of respectability. How clockable is your lace? How polished is your glam? How desirable are your features? It's not lost on me that of the female rappers that come to mind, Cardi B, Mauna Leo, Megan Thee Stallion, Glorilla, Lotto, Sexyy Red is the darkest among them and has unambiguously black features and isn't the most polished in terms of her aesthetics. And she's not trying to be. In that video, she mentions Mauna Leo's Sexy Salon music video as an example of how to do black culture the right way. And the thing that gets me with this comparison that people do between themselves and other black people or other black people, the line that people think separates them from other black people is much thinner than they think. Like, do y'all really think people outside the community, racists, are looking for the little nuances of what makes Mauna Leo respectable and Sexyy Red a minstrel show? They're not. To them, we're all the same. And if you want to think of it selfishly, once these unrespectable black people are gone from the equation, it won't make black people any less easy to oppress. It'll actually make it far easier. Respectability is a moving target. There will always be someone who's too much, too ghetto, too dark, too loud, too queer. And if you think you're safe because you're on the right side of that line today, just wait. Just you wait. No. But to be fair, Sexyy Red is also the least musically gifted of those rappers I mentioned, and that's a valid reason to dislike her. Nowhere in this video am I saying that you have to like Sexyy Red or you're anti-black. I don't necessarily like her either, but it's not because I think she's making our community look bad. I just hate when people try to retroactively justify their disdain for her because they found out that she has bad politics. It feels really disingenuous. You never liked the girl to begin with. Just own it. And the reason I know it's disingenuous is because of Nicki Minaj. She's also a Trump supporter now, but the discourse around her isn't that she's making us look bad or she's too sexual. Why? Because she has a respectable aesthetic even when she's saying and doing harmful things. The politics are almost secondary to the presentation and the surface level aesthetics. Same politics, different fonts, different reactions based on respectability. And we have to talk about the policing of black women's sexuality specifically. White supremacy and Christianity have such a tight grip on the black community, especially around sexuality. And it was clear from the beginning that the biggest issue people had with Sexyy Red when she first came out and hadn't disclosed anything about her politics was her sexuality. Her expression of sexuality was reprehensible and the root of people's discomfort with her from the very start. And then the scholars called Joe out on it, rightfully so. Being sexual is not inherently bad. Black cultures around the world practice forms of expression that puritanical Christian beliefs would deem seem hypersexual. Have y'all heard of carnival? My mom's from the Virgin Islands, and you know, whining and the way that they dance is a really big part of their culture. And she was like, yeah, when me and my sisters came to the US and we danced like that was inherently seen as sexual. And I just think it's so interesting. Even beyond sexuality, there is some, I forget what country it is, but they cover themselves in like this black oil or black paint, and Black Americans were over here saying like, that's demonic. And it's like, I don't know, the colonization and the indoctrination is so deep in the Black American community, and it's like, it's something. It's really something. And Sexy Red isn't the first Black woman to have this hypersexual persona. Kia, Trina, Spice, Cupcake. You know, me and my friends had no business reciting the lyrics to Deep Throat in middle school, but I think we turned out relatively fine, you know. Sexual Black women have always existed, and they're not going to be, and never have been, the downfall of the Black community. And I really can't stand when people act like they are. Intellectual Media actually has a great video on Black women's sexuality and talking about how even in juke joints they were doing the same. But since Sexy Red is a Trump supporter, all of a sudden this criticism is valid. We're using her politics as a shield for the same purity culture and respectability politics we've always deployed against Black women who don't perform femininity the right way. Now let's talk about Candace Owens. Okay, I kept it in the script, but I can't say this word because YouTube will demonetize me, but I'm referring to a certain black and white animal. Yep, you catch my drift?
Get my gist. Do you understand?
Let's say sellouts. When I first saw that TikTok, I thought to myself, sellouts come in all different shapes, colors, and sizes. We're saying that Sexy Red is tap dancing for white people, and Candace Owens is the poster child grifter who tap dances for white conservatives. The thing that confounds me is that these two women are wildly different in their presentation and approach. Sexy Red has a ghetto persona, unpolished, hypersexual, crass. Candace Owens is the picture of respectability. A crisp blazer, fuck-ass bob, relatively polished and articulate. So how are relatively, sorry, I do not respect that woman. So how are these two distinctly different women both tap dancing? And more importantly, what does that even mean anymore? The term tap dancing used to mean something specific, performing blackness for white approval, but now it's just become a catch-all term for any time a Black person does something that we don't like. The main thing that gets me about this conversation is that when we're constantly centering the white gaze the way that this discourse wants us to, literally everything is tap dancing. Hello, it's editing Kaylani here in the flesh for the first time ever. I wanted to clarify some of the points that I made in this section because I don't think that it was clear enough. With all of my videos, I'm still working through my thoughts on these topics, and I want to be a little bit more transparent about that. I don't have it all figured out, so when I get the opportunity to correct something or clarify something, I want to take it. Our frustration with these women and Black conservatives is their politics and their alignment with bigots and harmful ideologies. And my point is that our criticism should stay focused on that. But what I've noticed is that we've used their bad politics as a shield to tear them down for things that have absolutely nothing to do with said politics. We're using it as an opportunity to voice our disdain for the inconsequential and superficial parts of these women's identities that don't align with our own idea of Blackness. Like I said earlier with Sexy Red, people already didn't like her presentation. Too sexual, too ghetto, too unpolished. Candace Owens is another Black woman with harmful politics that couldn't be further from Sexy Red in terms of aesthetics. With Candace, we call her whitewashed or not really Black, as if that explains Black conservatism, as if Black people can't hold harmful politics while being fully, undeniably Black. These are not mutually exclusive things. It's like Audre Lorde said, often without noticing, we absorb the racist belief that Black people are fitting targets for everybody's anger. We are closest to each other, and it's easier to vent fury upon each other than upon our enemies. We're using these women's proximity to our enemies as justification to police what Blackness should look like and how it should be performed. Calling Sexy Red's presentation a minstrel show, calling Candace Owens whitewashed, like no, these are just two of the infinitely many versions of Black womanhood that there are. We're not a monolith, and these women are Black, period. Even if they're unlikable, even if they have bad politics. And the truth is, all of this policing of these superficial aspects of these women's identities makes us comfortable. We like doing it, but that's us doing the work of white supremacy. Staying hyper aware of our Blackness, constantly monitoring how our existence might be seen as bad or inherently wrong. And the thing that gets me is that we are all tap dancing. We are all code switching. As Black people, we are all making ourselves palatable in some way under this white supremacist society. And I think it is important to notice it and be mindful of it. However, when we call each other out on it, we need to ask ourselves why we're doing it. Why am I doing this? Is it because it gives me permission to talk poorly about another Black person guilt-free? Is it an opportunity to prove that I'm more authentically Black or that I'm doing Blackness the right way? Is it an opportunity to take out my frustration on someone closer to me than the actual systems oppressing us, like Audre Lorde said? So the real question we should be asking isn't, is this person performing Blackness the right way? It's, what is Blackness? Who gets to define it? And why is it constantly up for debate? I don't have the answers per se. I'm just posing the question. questions because I think they're good questions. But a lot of us don't want to do that. We want to reactively name call and endlessly critique because it makes us feel like we've done something. But in reality, we've done absolutely nothing except bring more uncritical eyes and attention these women's way. These women thrive on the grift and outrage marketing because it works. We're not analyzing systems or moving towards material change. We're reacting to aesthetics and name calling, and that keeps us stuck in the same endless cycle. And the thing I've been thinking about is like the young black girls that might see our discourse on these women and what their takeaway would be, because I just would assume it'd be like, oh yes, being hypersexual is bad, being a Trump supporter is bad, being MAGA is bad. I don't see them taking away anything more tangible and concrete as to why those things are bad, of why conservative politics are bad and not for them and do not serve them, and not just that it's bad and you're tap dancing for white people. But back to Candace Owens. It's clear to me that the reason black conservative grifters like her and now Nicki Minaj choose this route isn't because they've genuinely had a change of heart. It's because grifting is the easier and far more profitable route. You don't have to be educated or dedicated to learning when you're a right-wing pundit. You don't have to be particularly charismatic or convincing if you're a black person willing to sell out your community and other marginalized groups. Your complicity and tokenism speaks for itself. That's the entire brand. Like, the biggest thing about Candace Owens I've never understood is like how much of a charisma vacuum she is. And how bad she is at debating or articulating her points. Like, she's really just kind of a blank wall. And so it does make sense why she chose this route, because that's the only thing that would have brought her attention. And this connects directly to the anti-intellectualism we see in that viral video, and frankly, a pattern that a lot of us fall into. Antagonizing scholars who want to bring nuance and history into the conversation. This discourse attacks both sexy red and college-educated scholars in the same breath. It doesn't like bad, unrespectable versions of blackness like sexy, but it also doesn't like intellectual and educated black people. You don't like anyone around you.
You don't like nobody around you, bitch.
But here's what's missing. Lack of critical thinking and historical analysis is how you get a sexy red supporting Trump in the first place.
Yeah, they support him in the hood. Because at first, I don't think people with him like they thought he was racist, saying little and, you know, against women. But once he started getting black people out of jail and giving people their free money, oh, baby, we love Trump. We need him back in office.
Yeah, a little bit of free money goes a long way.
We need him back. Because, baby, them checks.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, them stimulus checks, Trump, we miss you.
The depth of her support for Trump is, oh, he sent us stimulus checks that had his name on it. Trump's propaganda works because it targets people who haven't been taught to analyze power structures, to question who benefits from certain narratives, or to think critically. And it's the same lack of historical context that leads people to attack Sexy Red for her presentation instead of understanding the systems that created the situation. Without the tools, the thinkers like Audre Lorde, the history of respectability politics, and the understanding of horizontal policing, it's hard to see why this approach is counterproductive. When you attack both unrespectable black people and black intellectuals, what are you left with exactly? No one. And more importantly, you still don't have the tools to understand or change anything. And the irony is, the Trump administration people are mad at Sexy Red for supporting is the biggest proponent of anti-intellectualism there is. And this is strategic. Critical thinking, learning from history, understanding systems, all of that adds nuance to the conversation. It takes away the ability to scapegoat vulnerable people, guilt-free and logic-free. Candace Owens does the same thing. She uses the veneer of intellectualism, the debates, the facts and logic posturing to push fundamentally anti-intellectual positions. She wants you to stop thinking critically, to stop questioning systems, and to stop analyzing power. All of this benefits from keeping us reactive instead of analytical. And I just cannot stand it when people try to antagonize education and learning. Like, you're against learning? Now I understand the elitism and lack of access that makes higher education less accessible for some people. I'm not saying that everyone needs a degree. I'm saying that we all need to start championing critical thinking and frameworks for understanding power. And having a degree is not the only way to get that. I joked about it in the hook, but none of my higher education involved critical race theory or black feminist thought. My degree gave me practice developing comprehension and analytical skills, sure, but it was my decision and motivation to seek out materials and writers like Audre Lorde and become educated on the issues affecting my community that gave me the tools to analyze what's actually happening and the historical context for it all. And I know it seems daunting, but the basis of this entire video essay came from a 10-page speech by Audre Lorde titled Learning from the 60s. It isn't shrouded in dense academic language, and I really think it's the perfect launching pad for those of you who want to move forward in this conversation with a more grounded understanding of systemic oppression and how we can effectively learn from the past. So I have the physical book. It's within a bunch of essays in this book, but the digital version will be linked in the description below. And all of that brings us to the core of the issue. Candace Owens and conservatives like her pride themselves on their individual ability to beat the odds, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, take personal responsibility, believe in individual excellence. And similarly, the type of discourse promoted in that TikTok thinks it's doing something by singling out black rappers like Sexy Red or Nicki Minaj. Both of these approaches are focused on policing individual black people in the name of liberation without acknowledging the systemic barriers that make all of this possible. Candace Owens and black conservatives like her want you to believe that if you just work hard enough and act respectable enough, you can overcome systemic racism. The dominant online discourse wants you to believe that if we just get rid of Sexy Red, if we police black women's sexuality and their presentation hard enough, we'll be free. And that's exactly what those in power want, for us to blame each other instead of looking up at them. I think that's the main thing I've realized, even rereading my script and thinking about this for a long time. I think the big takeaway I want people to have from this video is that there's a big difference between being reactive, which social media thrives on, and being proactive. Like, we act like we're betrayed and upset that Nicki Minaj is acting like this, but a lot of us like it so that we can sit up here and be like upset at her and be like, oh my god, like, and be shocked by it, instead of being like, oh, obviously this would happen and why this is happening, and asking those deeper questions of like, how does a Nicki Minaj get to this place? How does a Candace Owens get to this place? And how does a Sexy Red get to this place? Because I think there's a different answer for all three of them. I think they all come from a similar place, which is like the anti-intellectualism, the grift of it all. But I think a lot of people are more comfortable just staying in that reactive space of like, oh my god, they're MAGA now and that's bad, which is true, but there's so many other conversations that need to be had when it comes to this. So if you take away nothing else from this video or Lord's essay, take this. Policing other black people individually will not be our salvation. Focusing our energy on systems, on the structures that oppress all of us, is where our liberation lies. And speaking of horizontal policing, let's talk about Nicki Minaj finding a way to insert herself into the conversation once again. Recently, Nicki has been making headlines for her decision to align herself with the MAGA movement, most notably her appearance on Turning Point USA, where she was interviewed by Erica Kirk. The leading soundbite from that interview was Nicki's thoughts on how black women should stop antagonizing and devaluing white women's beauty.
If as black women, we felt that we were not being represented and not being admired for our beauty, if we felt like that as black women, why would we want to do that to other women? Why would we now need to make other people downplay their beauty so that we can feel, no, that's not how it works. I don't need someone with blonde hair and blue eyes to downplay their beauty because I know my beauty. Do you understand? It doesn't bother me that a woman feels and says that she's beautiful. Why shouldn't she feel that? Why have we gotten to a point where certain colors or certain kinds of people have to be afraid of loving themselves and loving the way they look?
Which again, with the anti-intellectualism, like if we literally go back in history, you can see instances of white women putting it into law what black women were and were not allowed to do with their hair, mandating that they wear head wraps because their hair was too beautiful and distracting. But somehow black women talking about white women on TikTok with no real power in terms of the law is something that we need to publicly decry and make a statement on. But I'm sorry, I'm doing my scholarly sorry. This abrupt shift in politics and singling out of black women predictably caused uproar and outrage. I was unplugging during this time, but this was the only pop culture news that broke through. And when I first heard it, I just sat and thought to myself, why the are we listening to Nicki Minaj, of all people, on of all topics, women kumbayaing and getting along with each other? Nicki Minaj, you know, the woman known for getting along with other women. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Bigfoot, get up on you, Bigfoot. Nicki Minaj, the woman who made a whole song about Megan Thee Stallion called Bigfoot, with lyrics saying, get up on your Bigfoot, in reference to Meg being a shooting victim. But then I stopped myself and realized the whole point is that it's not supposed to make sense at all. It's supposed to be so confounding, frustrating, and pointless that it completely distracts me from the that actually matters and makes sense. Eagle Wit has another bit in that same set about Kanye, and I think it applies to Nicki.
I would never vote for Kanye West. He's my favorite rapper. I trust him with beats, not the button. You know what I mean?
Because look at Gaga. She's the creative director of Polaroid. I like some of the Gaga songs. What the fuck does she know about cameras?
I trust her with beats, not anything else outside of that. Like, do we know who her husband is? Do we know who she... So, of course she would have that opinion about Trump. Like, what are we talking about? Who cares what she has to say? Nicki is a distraction. Another individual black woman we can hurl names at, feel betrayed by, and take our frustration out on, while everything goes according to plan in these systems. But Audre Lorde said it better than I ever could. How important it is not to allow even our leaders to define us to ourselves, or to define our sources of power to us. There is no black person here who can afford to wait wait to be led into positive action for survival. Each one of us must look clearly and closely at the genuine particulars of his or her life and decide where action and energy is needed and where it can be effective. Change is the immediate responsibility of each of us, wherever and however we are standing, in whatever arena we choose. For a while, we wait for another Malcolm, another Martin, another charismatic black leader to validate our struggles. Old black people are freezing to death in tenements, black children are being brutalized and slaughtered in the streets, or lobotomized by television, and the percentage of black families living below the poverty line is higher today than in 1963. It is now 2026. While we're sitting here judging these women and pointing the finger, what are we doing? How are you using your energy? I was talking to my mom about it the other day, and she said that most of us don't realize that we are part of history right now. We often take on a passive role in our lives and in the world. Lorde even echoed similar feelings in her essay in 1982, being the writer and activist that she was. But we are a part of history. Do we really want our mark in the history books to be name-calling and pointing fingers at obvious grifters with poor intentions, or something real? So ask yourself, what do I believe in and why? How much of my politics is just a sense of this is the bad side and this is the good side, without any deeper analysis or action behind it? We can't keep outsourcing our political understanding to public figures and online discourse. We can't keep waiting for the perfect villain or perfect leader to clarify things for us and make us comfortable. We have to start doing the work ourselves. And I realize also that with this video, I'm kind of doing the thought terminating cliches of like, stop looking to celebrities for politics, like that thing that I think is so annoying because people only say it whenever you criticize their favorite celebrity. And I'm not saying that with this video. And I also myself question how much people are actually looking to celebrities for, you know, political guidance. And I don't think that's what people are doing. I think they're just looking to see if their values aligns with a creator. But I think people, like I said in my last video, struggle with having principles and learning that information. Once you learn that it doesn't align, moving on and redirecting your energy. Instead, there's this like level of parasocial betrayal where we think we have to like vent all of our frustrations to this person that we never knew and never knew the intentions of, and spend so much energy on that. Like we learned that Nicki is a Trump supporter. Move on. Find other artists that align with your beliefs and stop trying to dogpile and waste our time calling out and analyzing the grift. Let's be clear, these women have platforms and they have influence. And yes, their politics deserve constructive critique. Keyword being constructive. But again, what I've been seeing is so much energy is spent publicly dragging them. And for what? What does anyone learn from these viral call-out videos? The people who already agreed, you're just giving them permission to feel morally superior. The people who disagree or are actually influenced by these women, what's their takeaway? Being sexual is bad. Tap dancing is bad. MAGA is bad. Yes, but why? There's no analysis, no critical thinking, just name-calling, venting, and moving on. Black women are almost never the leading causes, even those of us with platforms, of institutional oppression. We're not the architects of systemic racism. We're not writing policies that devastate our communities. We have very little structural power. So when I see us spending all of this energy publicly ridiculing individual Black women unconstructively, keyword, under the guise of moral superiority or righteousness, I have to ask, what is this actually accomplishing? Because in my eyes, it accomplishes exactly what those in power want from us. Keeping us distracted, keeping us fighting each other, keeping us from organizing against the actual sources of oppression. Every minute we spend arguing about Sexy Red or Nicki Minaj's politics or Candace's grift is a moment that we're not spending on protecting our reproductive rights, addressing the Black maternal mortality rate, humanitarian crises and natural disasters in Haiti, Sudan, and the Congo, affecting the people who look just like us. And the list goes on. I'm not saying don't critique Black women who are in the wrong. I'm saying before you do, ask yourself, what is the larger point? Why am I really criticizing this person? Is it because their actions or politics are genuinely harmful and I want to educate other people about why? Or is it simply because I don't like them, they make me uncomfortable, they don't fit my aesthetic of what a Black woman should be, and I'm using political righteousness as a cover? Because if it's the latter, just own it. Say, I don't like this person and move on. Don't dress it up as political analysis. Don't weaponize terms like tap dancing to police people you simply find distasteful. Especially, don't do this publicly as another Black woman while claiming to be pro-Black, because what you're really doing is providing content for people who hate all of us to consume and validate their existing biases. We have real work to do, and it's not policing each other. I will end with another quote from Audre Lorde. We must fight that inserted piece of self-destruction that lives and flourishes like a poison inside of us, unexamined until it makes us turn upon ourselves in each other. But we can put our finger down upon that loathing buried deep within each one of us and see who it encourages us to despise. And we can lessen its potency by the knowledge of our real connectedness, arcing across our differences. Hopefully, we can learn from the 60s that we cannot afford to do our enemy's work by destroying each other. So this discussion was kind of geared towards creators and public conversations, but honestly, we all participate in these patterns online and offline. So I encourage you, even in your private conversations, to dig a little deeper than your gut reactions take you. As usual, I'm just encouraging people to ask, questions and be a little bit more reflective. My favorite comments I get are when you guys tell me that my video inspired a conversation between you and your friends and your family, because I genuinely believe that's where change starts to happen. It's not going to be from videos that feed the algorithm and contribute to echo chambers. It's just not. But that's going to do it for today's video. I'm happy to be back. I'm very happy to be back. I missed this. If you made it this far and this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you want another video like this, check out my video on policing women in film, which is, again, one of my favorite videos I've ever done, and I think it's becoming more relevant with the award season and Tiana just winning her Golden Globe. I'm very obviously passionate about calling out respectability politics, but it's really exhausting when people are so dedicated to maintaining them. We'll see if I dive into this topic again, in the future, but for now, I think I've said what I needed to say. But either way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!